Sorry for the delay, and Tori will give me a thumbs up when we are live. Welcome. Welcome again to a ISD 709 Duluth Public Schools regular monthly school board meeting. It is Tuesday, December 17th. It is 7:08. We thank you for hanging in there with us while we've been delayed because we've had a number of other meetings prior to this. But we are here, and I'll turn it over to Member Zadowski, who will take roll.
Member Banks.
Here.
Member Dirk Eater. Here. Member Loeffler Kemp.
Here.
Member Lofeld.
Here.
Member Mike Sell.
Here.
I am here. Member Williams. Here. Superintendent Magus.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Bonds. Present. Deputy Clerk Zunich.
Present.
Executive Director of HR and Operations Severance.
Present.
Board Secretary Paquette. Here. And our Duluth East Student School Board Representative Petronas.
Here.
Perfect.
Thank you. We will now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Rise if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it belongs, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. School board members, we've had the agenda in our packet for the last few days. I'm looking for a motion to approve our agenda.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Member Eater makes the motion, Member Mike Sell seconds it. Is there any discussion about items or any additions to our agenda? See none, all those in favor of passing the agenda tonight, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're moving on to number 5 on our school board agenda. It's a school and community recognition. I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Bonds for this presentation. Thank you.
Good evening again, and dear school board members, it is with great pleasure and pride that I bring to your attention the remarkable achievements of our students right in front of me. These students competed in June of 2024. They attended the Health Occupation Students of America, which is HOSA, Future Health Professionals International Leadership Conference. At this prestigious event, over 11,000 competitors showcased their exceptional talent and dedication as young healthcare leaders. We had 6 outstanding students from Duluth, and their advisor, Kim Olson, is also present. They represented our district. They are Lily Ortman, who could not be here with us today. She's an East graduate from 2024. Marcus Cameron is currently not able to attend as well, but he is a 12th grader. Brendan Flagg is a Denfeld graduate from 2024. Evan Boltus is a Denfeld 12th grader. Are you waving when I say your name? There you go. Alex Davis is a Denfeld 12th grade student, and Talon Seabuck is a East 12th grader. Their accomplishments are truly commendable. Lily secured an impressive 2nd place in the International Home Health Aid Competition. She also received the Barbara Johnson Service Award at the silver level for her commitment to community service. Brendan achieved an outstanding 8th place in the healthcare event. Evan successfully advanced to the 2nd round in the challenging respiratory therapy competition. And Talon, at the state level, he won and then also qualified for the international competition for public service announcement. Unfortunately, due to prior commitments, he was not able to attend and compete. These accomplishments not only highlight the individual talents of our students, but also reflect the quality of our healthcare education and leadership development in our schools. We extend our heartfelt congratulations to these students and express our sincere gratitude to their advisor, Mrs. Olson, for her guidance and support. Their success brings honor to Duluth and inspires future generations of healthcare professionals in our community. Congratulations. And I believe maybe one or two of them would like to share a little bit about their experiences, so I'll let them decide. Bryn.
Yes. I didn't know I was going to have to talk today, so I didn't really come prepared, but I'll just make this up as I go. This program really helped me see what I wanted to do in my future for a job and whatnot. And I had an amazing instructor, Miss Olson, who helped me all along the way throughout the years. And it really got me looking to like what I wanted to do, and I enrolled in the EMT course at Lake Superior College, and I'll be starting that this semester. Hopefully I'll pass, and that can be my new job then.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I'm Evan Bultus, and this experience really helped me choose nursing as a career that I want to pursue. And from it, I got my CNA license. So I've been working at Essentia for the past 6 months as CNA, getting loads of experience, and I have to thank Ms. Olson for all of that.
I'm Talon Seabach, and I want to thank Ms. Olson for everything she's done for us. She helped me get my CNA license as well. And I'm also working at Essentia Health as a CNA on the 15th floor, and it's just helped me choose my nursing to go into nursing, and so I just want to thank her a lot.
This course has helped me a lot with my confidence, so has Miss Olson. And the other teacher, Miss Tracy. And it's made me show the love for the healthcare field.
And I just want to say I'm Kim Olson, and I've been in the district for quite some time now. And I think the support of our school board, the support of our community, the support of other instructors really just make a positive influence on our students and how they're going to be taking care of us. So we're going to invest in them, and we're going to do everything we can. And I'm just so proud of them, and they know we're from Duluth when we show up. We look very professional, and we act professional, and they work really hard. They put extended amount of hours in. They found things that they really wanted to excel in or experiment with, and it was just an exciting time. And I thank you for your support.
Take a quick picture.
Oh, okay. Come on, bonding.
Well, they're getting their picture ready too. I know that Kim Olson was our Gold Find Teacher of the Year in, I think it was the COVID year, because I remember watching it on the video. And again, as a colleague of Kim's for over the years, you know, the competitions that our students go to and compete in these fields, I know that the community doesn't always understand how that competition happens. And Kim and I would often run into each other at national tournaments because I'd be there with speech kids and debate kids, and she was there with the medical health team kids, and they knew each other because they go to the same schools. So it's always been delightful, and Kim is right. Over the years, whenever you've gone to community partners and said that you're bringing students to, yeah, we want to go and shake their hand, bringing students to the national tournaments, they're more than willing to partner with us for the money to bring them there. So we'll bring them back in so we can say thank you. You know, so again, school board members, you know it. That's what we put, that's why we put the time up here. Everybody says, how can you be on the school board? How can you deal with all that? Well, the community doesn't always get to see all of the great things we do, and it just lifts us, and it makes this job become the job we want, because it is, whether it's, I know you're attending holiday concerts all over our city, we're visiting schools, we're seeing such great things, and there are challenges, we know that. But we also know that there's some incredible things. So I really appreciate the work that Assistant Superintendent Bonds does and our communications specialist Adele to really call out who we can bring before the board next month. So thank you. Well, I guess there's an agenda to follow too. Okay. Next on our agenda is the audit presentation. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Good evening again. I'm Simone Zunich, and I'm the Executive Director of Business Services, and I'd like to introduce Michelle Swoboda. She's one of the partners from Whitley. She and her team performed our audit, and it was a lot of work, but they always do an amazing job, and she's here to discuss the highlights with you.
Great. Are you going to pull up the PowerPoint?
Let's see. They're working. Give her a second. There we go.
Well, I passed out the PowerPoint to the board members, this packet.
There you
so
go.
There we go. So I can get started, but thank you for having me. So this is just to go through basically the highlights of our audit for the year ended June 30th, 2024. So if we go to the next page. I'll give it a second. So our responsibility when we are performing the audit is to issue an opinion on the basic financial statements, to report on compliance and internal controls over financial reporting, report on compliance and internal controls over federal programs under uniform guidance, and report on compliance with the Minnesota statutes that we're required to test. So next page. The results of our audit, we gave an unmodified opinion on the basic financial statements, which is a clean opinion. The internal control findings over financial reporting, we do have 2 material weaknesses, which we've had for quite a few years running. Mostly, the first one is related to audit adjustments, reconciliation of significant accounts. We do help the district make some pretty significant adjustments in the areas of mostly state aid receivables and revenue, and the salaries payable, which is a pretty significant dollar amount and a pretty significant adjustment. And then quite a few other just miscellaneous adjustments that we help the district with, but we do have to report that. And then the other one is financial statement presentation and disclosure. Essentially because the big packet that you received, those are your financial statements, you're responsible for those financials and the preparation of those, but we do that for you. But because of that, we do report a material weakness over internal controls. However, we did test several of your federal programs this year. Every year we have to make a selection of federal programs to test, and we did not find any noncompliance or internal control findings over your federal programs. The 3 programs we tested this year were Title I, your ESSER funds, and then also your food service programs, so your federal dollars under your child nutrition program. And then we also look at Minnesota statutes, and we did not have any noncompliance with Minnesota statutes. Next slide. So when we take a look at the general fund itself, as you can see, this is the unassigned fund balance over time. which is essentially anything that's not restricted, assigned, or non-spendable. You can see this year, the amount did go from a slightly negative unassigned fund balance in 2023 up to $1,115,000 in 2024. I did want to note, and Simone is going to comment on this, the $1,115,000 positive unassigned fund balance did come from the fact that you approved and we did move $5 million from your assigned fund balance in 2024 over to unassigned. Otherwise, you would have had about a $4 million unassigned deficit unassigned fund balance in your general fund. So I think, Simone, did you want to comment on that?
Yes, so, thank you, Michelle. So, we have put a recommendation forth for the 5 million reduction in FY '26. So these numbers support that reduction amount. Like Michelle said, had we not moved the 5 million from the assigned fund balance, we would have been in the negative, over 4 million. And also, our general fund expenditures were 4.9 million over revenue. So that's why we had to move money. So that $5 million mark is actually right on where we do need to make our budget adjustment for next year for FY '26.
And didn't we see that in your presentation in Truth and Taxation, that same 4,900 some dollars somewhere? No? Okay.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, we were, our budget this year is 4.7 million over. Yes, you are correct.
Great, thank you. So next page, and this is a little hard to read on screen, but essentially this breaks out all of your fund balances, basically the non-spendable amounts, the restricted amounts, the assigned amounts, and unassigned. So the middle section is all your restricted amounts, so these dollars have to be spent on the description of the restricted items on the side. So your restricted fund balances, this is general fund, at the end of the year was 6.1 million, which was an increase of about 1.4 million over 2023. And then the next section is your assigned fund balance, and this is where you can see the movement of that $5 million. There was a little bit of other dollars and moving out of assigned also, but essentially the $5 million, you can see you had that money from sale of property in a prior year that you had moved into assigned, and you moved that out during the year. So you ended up with an ending assigned fund balance of 2.3 million compared to 17.9 in the prior year. So total general fund balance at the end of the year, at the bottom, you can see 19,619,000, which is a decrease of 2.9 million over 2023. And we can see on, next page, we're just going to talk about a few of the changes, and then we'll look at the budget to actual for the general fund. But essentially, as Simone was saying, and you'll see on the next slide, your revenue was over budget, but then, of course, the other side, your expenditures were also over budget. The biggest piece of both of those, the revenue, additional state and federal funding for special education, and then expenditures were over budget, mostly due to special education and transportation costs, and some capital projects that did not get reimbursed in FY '25. So next page, you can see the actual results of operations in the general fund. So at the top, as you can see, the over budget of 8.4 million. In the revenue side, which we just talked about, the expenditure side, over budget of 12 million. So essentially, if you go down in the middle column, middle of the page, your deficiency of revenue over expenditures. So this is that $4.9 million deficit that you had in general. However, you did have a few at the bottom other financing sources. The biggest item is sale of capital assets, 1.7 million, which then brings your deficit in the general fund up to your change in fund balance, excuse me, in your general fund, a negative 2.9 million to bring you down to that total fund balance at the end of the year of 19,619,000. So next page will be your food service fund. And essentially, if you look at the top, final further column over, you can see you were pretty close on your revenue as far as budget goes, just a slight under budget. Your expenditures were also under budget, $720,000. So you did actually have a positive change in fund balance in your food service fund right in the middle of the page of $707,000. Your total fund balance at the end of the year in the middle of the page also, 2.9 million. And as you can see at the bottom, there's a little bit that's not non-spendable. The rest is in restricted. So all those dollars are restricted for food service. Your community service fund. Here you can see your revenue was over budget, $463,000. This is mostly related to local and county revenue over budget. Your expenses, it's showing under budget. I apologize. It's actually, under budget. You were actually a little bit over budget in expenses, $71,000. But as you can see in the middle of the page, you had a change in your fund balance of a negative $96,000. You did do a transfer of $55,000 for a total fund balance for the year right in the middle of 2.2 million. And as you can see at the bottom, all of those dollars are also restricted for community services. Your capital projects fund. So this fund, nothing budgeted in this fund, but you can see you did have revenue of $713,000. This is all investment income revenue. That's the total type of revenue that you had in this fund. But you did have expenditures of 6.1 million, of which is your big capital projects that you've been working on. For a deficiency in revenue over expenses of 5.4 million, which is essentially you received those dollars to spend on those capital projects. Now you're spending them down, so that should not be a big surprise. So if you come down to the middle of the page towards the bottom, you do still have $6.8 million in that fund to spend, and that is all restricted for your long-term facilities maintenance. Your debt service fund, at the top you can see your revenue was over budget, about 1.9 million. Your tax revenue was actually over budget. And then your expenditures on the other side were also over budget. And that was essentially your principal payments were budgeted lower than what you actually ended up paying. So in the middle of the page, a deficiency of revenue over expenses of $802,000. And then here you can see right below that, your bond refunding, which we'll take a look at here. I think it might be the next page. The sale of the bonds, 21,708,000, and then the refunding of the bonds, $21,285,000, to come to a total net change in fund balance of a deficit of $380,000, and fund balance at the end of the year of $2.3 million, of which is all restricted. So then your outstanding debt at the end of the year. So as you can see, so this is what happened during the year. You can see your new debt, which is essentially your new bond of $21,708,000, of which if you go down to under your certificates of participation, you can see the last two bonds, the refunding certificates. Those two, as you can see, have a zero balance at the end of the year. Those are the two bonds that were refunded. So if we take a look then at the next column, total principal paid, if we take out the refunding bonds from the total principal paid, just overall, not including that, you did pay $22,400,000 on principal during the year, not taking those refundings into consideration. So that's kind of a pretty quick summary. Just as a quick reminder, so I am actually no longer the partner on the audit this year. I am consulting with our new partner, Rob Ganshow, on the audit for this year. I've been helping him out. Zach Sharp is the audit manager. Rob has extensive 30 years experience in governments, especially school districts. So you're in very good hands with him. But I just wanted to point that out, but I'm here tonight because I've been working with you for a long time, so. All right, is there any questions on anything?
I would just like to point out, thank you, Michelle. She does this in 15 minutes, but it's literally 6 months' worth of work. Many hours, and we had some late adjustments after our audit was finalized, and then we went ahead and made some additional, we had some additional extensions to do. MDE was very supportive, and we got it done. And I want to thank Sheila Stevens, who took point on our audit this year and did a fantastic job. And I also would like to point out that, yes, Michelle, said that with the transfer of the $5 million, that was key to keep us out of the negative in the unassigned fund balance. And it does support our dollar amount that we are asking for a reduction for next year. But the biggest thing is our SOD, our statutory operating debt percentage, was at 14.78%. It went down to 10.71. So by that $5 million, it reduced it by at least 4 points. So it's just a trend we cannot continue. So that is why it's crucial that we start correcting our budget, because if we keep taking 4 points, in 2.5 years, we'll be in statutory operating debts at 2.5%. No, we don't want it to go down. I want it to go up. So I think the math supports any decisions that are made tonight. And we just really want to keep an eye on that SOD percentage. So I'm happy it's still in the double digits, but our decisions going forward will help support keeping it going up.
Member Zadowski.
I just have a quick question, follow-up from page 3, where we went over the material weaknesses, which I know aren't a huge deal. This looks like a really great, clean audit. But I'm just wondering about the financial statement presentation and disclosure. I don't remember seeing that one in the past. Am I just not remembering that, or is that a pretty common one to have? Is that a pretty common relationship between a school district and an auditor, to have that kind of assistance and what you were talking about?
Yeah, preparing the financial statements for the client. You have had this for quite a few years.
Okay.
And really what it comes down to is the audit adjustments and the financial statement presentation for us kind of go hand in hand. Like if you were to, at some point, had everything adjusted and we came in and all we're doing is auditing ending balances, not making any adjustments, we might rethink that financial statement presentation. But we have to make those to get your financial statements to present fairly. So that is a piece of it, and that does play into it too. But it is common for auditors to prepare financial statements for the clients.
Perfect, thank you.
Member Mikesell, and then Superintendent Magus.
Thank you. I recognize that this is a lot of hard work and many hours. And my question was also just trying to get better understanding about the material weaknesses. And so the one prior to that, the audit adjustments and reconciliation, you may have already touched upon it. But the definition of material weaknesses, is that a classification at MDE? Like what?
No, that actually comes out of auditing standards. So there's essentially, as part of our requirements, when we do the audit, we have to look at deficiencies. Are there deficiencies? And then are they significant deficiencies, or do they elevate to a material weakness? And materiality is a dollar component. It's something we calculate when we are doing the audit. It's kind of where the level of testing we do. The adjustments that we make are pretty material to the financial statements, so that's why it elevates up to a material weakness. So yes, it's straight out of auditing standards. So you're going to see that anywhere anybody uses GAAP financials.
Got it. Okay. And then it was a very detailed audit and audit report. But when I hear the things that we have a clean audit, and when we're going through the numbers, there wasn't any glaring discrepancies, like this is all very good and supports the good work that our teams do here. Is that correct in my understanding?
Yes, we know, and the team knows we're going to make those material adjustments. Once we do that, we've got good numbers in front of us. So, and we're able to audit those numbers, pretty cleanly. So, yeah, we know that there's, when we give an opinion that there's no material misstatements. That's not exactly how it reads, but we're not getting down to the penny, right? There could be a little bit that we're off, but overall, that's going to be a pretty small dollar. We're very confident that the numbers are good numbers at this point.
Thank you so much.
Superintendent Magus?
Thanks, and actually Member Mike Sell kind of phrased things the way that I was thinking about, basically, if you were giving kind of the elevator speech to just a general member of the public about where we are financially, what would you say? And you kind of alluded to it, but if there's more you'd like to add. And then also I'd like to just say two things. Very appreciative that the accuracy of Executive Director Zunich in the forecast that we really need to reduce by 5 million. It was right on the nose, and I think that shows a great deal of skill. And also thanks for the partnership with Whipley. We've been with you for many years and really appreciate your dedication and the work that's been done.
Great,
But,
thank you very
yeah.
much. Yep.
Anything else you, like, if somebody were just asking about Duluth Public Schools, how are they doing financially, what would you say?
I personally could not answer that question, right? Just to the general public, because I work for the school board and everything
Sure.
we do is confidential. So just saying,
Right.
But you're asking me as a school board, as the superintendent. So yeah, you really got to keep an eye on that general fund balance for sure. I think that's a big thing going forward, because you really don't want that to slip down back into a deficit. However, the numbers themselves, they are what they are, right? We're not worried that there's big discrepancies anywhere in the final numbers. We think they're good numbers. It's just keeping an eye on that general fund balance.
So like on that line of keeping an eye out, this is, what is this, how much money is this? This is like 139 million, right? Or is it more? And we get constant, I've been on the board now 7 years, and we get all of this information every year. We get even more information. We get training on the different funds and the different streams and the different codes and all of that. So then what is the process for kind of managing the budget and monitoring our expenditures against the budget when there's like 2,000 employees in this district and we're all spending money? So where is that? How do you, is that what you use your future forecast money for, or your
Yes.
whole team in your offices of adding all those codes? It's to balance kind of the process for budgeting and monitoring expenses.
Correct. We can start with the revenue. I know I have a finite number of what I know our revenue will be. I know what our basic formula will be. We take a good average of our ADM, and we forecast from there. MDE has a wonderful document, it's called the What If Revenue Calculator, and I can go in and put in what I think our enrollment is going to be, and it literally works through many tabs and tells you what your revenue will be based on how much ADM you'll have. So that is our most accurate document, so we start with our revenue. And the bottom line is now going forward, we simply have to match our expenses to our revenues. And so then we take actual, how, what our, I love to look at last year and prior year and look at what we spent in salaries and benefits. All of that tells a story. We will have off years where, we had a program that needed an additional 10 people or whatnot. And so then we go through the process of saying, okay, to match our revenues, this is where we need to land. And with our forecasting document, it's terrific. And we take our levy information, we put all of that in there, we put our ADM information in there, and we start doing the work. And we break it down even by object code. It's pretty detailed. And we go through our state, our federal, our levy, any additional grants that we're going to have. And I will, really a lot of respect to Whipfly because they also audited the ESSER funds, which was a lot. And I'm highly anticipating another audit from MDE. And we've already had 2, and it's, they're very complex, and they want to see a purchase order that supports every invoice, who approved everything, what code did we use? I mean, it's intensive. So I give thanks to Whipfly that we've already performed one ESSER audit. They were able to justify it, but I assume that we'll be getting another one from the Department of Education. So, and answer to your questions, we'd use a lot of historical data. We have great calculators through the Department of Education, and then we take that information and I put it into our forecast, and we try and get as close as possible. Things can happen. Our revenue did come in a lot higher, but we ended up getting a nice cross subsidy for our special education. So that can skew, change our, no, I don't want to use the word skew. It can change our numbers. So we're just going to be really mindful of our spending going forward. The budget report that I bring to HR Business Services every month, if you look to the far right, there's a % there. So like by June, we should be halfway through our budget at 50%. So I keep a close eye on that. And our expenditures can be higher in the spring for purchase services and supplies because people come back and they put in all their contracts. That should all now kind of slow down. And then that's when I bring a revised budget to you, as I did last year. We had some unanticipated costs, so we have to bring those back in there. And then the auditors, as you see, they look at the revised budget. We have to send them a copy of that. So what you're approving goes to our audit and is part of our file. So.
And so thank you. Sheila's still here too, and I often visit the budget department just to say hi when I'm in the building, and your team is strong, and I really hope with how we move forward too that oftentimes we are the leanest in some of our most needed areas. So our payroll is an incredible group of people working hard, and we support them too, all of them.
I'd agree. Great team. Simone is a great leader of a great team, and it's a very cohesive group as well. Very high performing, but also when you go there, they're very friendly. You wouldn't necessarily think they put the fun in finance, but they do.
Well, they always have the best goodies on their table when you go in. There's always something really delicious when I'm there. So, and it's the most decorated part of our building as well. So if you want decorating ideas, that's who you go to. But thank you, Michelle, right, again, for for coming and sharing with the audit as you have so many years. And we will not see you then next year at this table?
Oh, most likely,
It
no.
will be
No.
Zach? No.
Probably Rob or Zach. I'm
Okay.
not disappearing, though. I'm
Okay.
around.
I bet
So
you're not, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll still
So I'd
call
be
her.
around to help.
And Rosie, you have your light on, so.
I do too, as well as Member Eater
Oh,
does.
okay.
So I think hers was before mine. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so it's Member Eater.
And just so that we're clear, when we talk about having to do those fund transfers and having that $5 million, that is something that the district, the superintendent, the school board, the administration, those are planned occurrences. So these aren't instances that are just popping up and all of a sudden we're running around the district service center, hair on fire, saying, oh no, we need $5 million. We knew that once COVID wound down and the federal government pulled back on funding for public schools, we knew that we were going to have to take a step-down approach to our budget. So these were conscious decisions made by the administration and by the school board to have that step down so that we didn't have to just come in and cut tens of millions of dollars immediately. We saw that all over the state in much larger districts that had to make much more significant cuts. So we knew this coming into this audit, and as we've moved forward, these are calculated decisions that we've made to keep our district in the best financial health as possible. At times, you have to pull money out of savings in order to support, and those are conscious decisions that we made as to making sure that the student experience in the classroom, we keep that as authentic and as intact as we can as we work through these very difficult decisions of budget reallocation and redistribution. So I just want to be clear on that, that these are calculated and thoughtful decisions that we made. We understood that we were going to take a hit, our SOD was going to change, but those were decisions that we made consciously, and we have a long-term plan for the financial health of this district. So while we have some material weaknesses and while we have some money that we've pulled out, we understand that we need to keep a healthy fund balance, that we need to make sure that we are operating with our SOD at a healthy place. So I just want to make sure that that's clear to the public. So thank you.
Really appreciate that, Member Eater. And I was, one of the things I was just going to touch on was just that, you know, we have 3 new board members, so you're going through your first audit, audit and truth and taxation, but there were very thoughtful and very hard decisions over the last few years that have been made on refinancing bonds and, the many different things that have been talked about. And so, it is sometimes as a board member, you need to be thinking, even though the decisions might be hard right now, it is for the long-term success of our district, if you will, the financial success of our district. So thank you for bringing that up, Member Eater. I just wanted to say I've enjoyed having your work with us over the years, and always have enjoyed this presentation. And I always appreciate the auditor's results page where you really kind of summarize. We've said a lot about the kind of first couple items, but I also just really appreciate the last 2 items about the internal control findings over federal programs and then non-compliance with Minnesota statutes and that testing. I think, again, it just shows the transparency of our district as well as the great work of this department in terms of being mindful of following state statutes and all of the, hopefully, continued federal programs that we deal with right now. So appreciate your work, but also just appreciate how you have worked with our district over the years. And I also appreciated you mentioning the background of, is it Gus? The person, Rob, and that he, 30 years working with other school districts as well. And that's, I think, really important to know that we are working with an auditing firm that has a lot of school district experience. And that might not always be the case of districts that are being audited. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I've enjoyed working with the district. So, yeah, and you are in good hands. And we have a lot of school district partners and other auditors in the firm. My focus is just being reshifted, so thank you.
Next on our agenda, number 7, is our superintendent report, and underneath the superintendent is first our reports from our student school board representatives, then it's the superintendent report, and then it's just a review of our meetings and events coming up in the next week. So I'll turn it over to Superintendent Magus.
First of all, I'd like to say thanks to our 2 student representatives, Larissa Miller from Denfeld and Mia Petronas from East. Both have been exemplary in their leadership. And before they begin their results, we have just a little recognition. We have 2 Duluth Public School bags, but the bags are not empty because it's a festive time of year. And to remember your time on the school board as student representatives, we have Duluth Public School polo shirts for you, and just wanted to say thank you. And let's give a little round of applause for Larissa and Mia. Thank you. I would say both representatives, every year we're impressed, and every year I think, wow, what a great group we have this year, and this year is no different. And I think about some of the work that I've done with both of you, and been very impressed in thinking about some of the work we're doing with probably expanding what student leadership looks like, and hoping that you'll help serve in that capacity a little bit as we develop that programming in the course of the next few weeks. So again, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to the student leadership group previously, and for inviting me again for a second round. Very, very appreciative, and looking forward to your reports. But here is your gift.
Thank you so much for this gift. I have a couple of things to cover at East. This week is Winter Week. Each day we have a dress-up theme and some activities that go along with it. This morning we had a free hot cocoa bar in our cafeteria. Tomorrow we have holiday trivia during lunch. And Thursday evening, we have a movie night and a holiday story time in the library. So we have lots of fun things to celebrate the last few days before we go on holiday break. Along with that, we have a winter reading contest that was started by our librarian, Miss Canettle. It's a school-wide reading contest where everyone who reads 4 books by the end of February is entered into a drawing for a gift card to a bookstore. Earlier this morning, East invited 5th graders from nearby elementary schools to watch a holiday concert where several of the music groups from the music department performed. This is our 2nd year doing this, and it's a great way to introduce the incoming middle schoolers to the great music programs that they'll have the opportunity to experience. The performance today was a shortened version of the holiday concert that will take place this Friday at 7 o'clock at the deck. Denfeld and East have a new catering collaboration. It's called Hunter and the Hound, and it's from the CTE culinary classes. They did pre-orders for pie during Thanksgiving, and this holiday season, they are selling various types of cookies and breads. And lastly, I want to say thank you again. I'm very sad to say that this is my last meeting, but I just want to thank all of you for being so kind and so welcoming. Tomorrow we have our election for the new student rep, and all of 5 of the candidates are very qualified and lovely people, so I'm very excited for you all to have a fresh face in this seat next month. And I also want to apologize that I have to sneak out in a little bit. But student government has a decorating party for for our assembly tomorrow, so I'd like to make it to that. But once again, thank you all. I've really enjoyed my time.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
No.
No, okay. So tomorrow you have a lunch with 5 potential next student school board rep, and you'll vote on that? I know that East holds elections, and so does the vote happen before break or when you get back, or?
Yes, so tomorrow the junior class is who votes on the new student representative. So each candidate has a couple minutes to do a presentation, a speech, or a video. And then from there, the junior class votes, and by the end of the day, we will know who the student representative is. Yes, we're very excited about it.
Yes, and thanks. And one thing that I want to say that I extend to all of our school board reps, but the 2 of you in particular this year, if there's any help you need with anything as far as scholarship letters or letters of support for anything that you're taking as far as next steps, be sure and let us know, because we'd be more than glad to support you in the way that you supported us. So our superintendent's report for today,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just always like to remind our school board members, student school board members, that NSBA has a scholarship that's available to apply for that is only for student school board members. So I know we'll send out reminders, and I think the deadline is either February 1st, I think. But yeah, we encourage you. We've had, they only recognize 2 folks, but we've had student school board reps get it. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I also want to say that this is our last school board meeting of this year, and so very appreciative of the people who have served in various roles in different committee running, and Chair Lofold for everything that you've been doing. I just want to say thank you for the work that each of you have done in your roles. And as we begin, we are talking about many different things tonight, but our mission and vision are always clear, and we have to use those as rudders in the work that we do. Our mission is that every student every day will be empowered with learning opportunities for growth, creativity, and curiosity in preparation for their future in a global community. And our vision is that Duluth Public Schools provides an academically engaging, safe, and inclusive environment with high expectations and responsible use of resources. And that is one of the themes we talk about quite a bit tonight. In our core values we went over earlier, but learning, excellence, equity, collaboration, and belonging are all important to us. Our topics, we went through the student reports, and I know Ms. Miller wanted to be here as well, but she is driving to Minneapolis and taking a flight someplace, and actually driving for the first time by herself, I believe, which is also quite a leadership opportunity when you're of that age. Anyway, I also want to talk a moderate amount about our budget reduction realignment update. We've had a lot on finance already tonight. It seems to be the theme. Very short update on where we are with some of our solar projects, and our legislative update as well, and then anything else that you have questions on. But I would say that one of the things that I've really enjoyed during the season is a lot of the celebrations that we've had in the schools. Today I was at the elementary holiday concert at Lester Park, and seeing the kindergartners and first graders just singing their little hearts out. It was just incredibly cute and engaging and sweet experience, and also getting to see the parents engaging there too. But I've been to quite a few concerts. I was at Denfeld's concert last night, and looking forward to East concert on Friday. And I invite the community as well. As far as our budget reduction and realignment, this is something we've talked a great deal about. And just to preface the vote, that, later on, the last agenda item is actually on budget adjustment and realignment, and we'll talk more about that, but seeking a motion from the board to move forward. But just a reminder that this is not without context, and I'm going to go through this because we've shared it quite a bit previously, but our guiding change, this is what the roadmap that we've used for the choices we've made. It's provided context for our work. And I would really suggest to us as an administrative team, and then also the board, as we do future major projects, that we really consider the use and continued use of a guiding change document, because I think it really serves as a strong rudder for us. Our focus statement was achieving necessary budget adjustments while aligning resources to the district priority and positioning us to make effective decisions now and into the future. That's why we're doing this. Why are we doing this? Why do we have this? We've talked about it quite a bit, but elimination of the pandemic relief funds, inflation costs, not keeping up with state funding, new unfunded legislative mandates requiring resources. We were talking about those just today, just some things as far as added costs and some things with safe and sick time, things that are morally really good things for our workers and for the people that serve our children, but also costly, and if they're not funded, it becomes difficult with us. We also have some ongoing effects of employee contract settlements. We knew that we wanted to have some adjustments in teacher pay and things of that nature that does impact our bottom line. There is an investment when you raise the rate of pay, but we thought that was important to invest in our educators. We've had relatively stable enrollment. In fact, our enrollment has gone up a bit. This past year, or for the financial year of 26, we have a budget deficit of $7.5 million. And actually that deficit is dependent on the intended reductions for this year. So basically we have to reduce by $2.6 million this year, $2.5 million, so that we have $5 million left to reduce. And this past year, we reduced, remember that Pac-Man-like pie chart that we saw? That basically 86% of our budget is staff and benefits. And this year, we made most of the reductions out of other areas. So unfortunately, much of the reduction this year does come from a variety of staff throughout the entire organization. And it's what I've told everybody in the beginning of all of our budget meetings with sites is this is not easy for us. It's hard to ask people to continue to do more with less. And that we're just trying to make the best choices at this time. So again, we're looking at about $5 million reduction for next year, but we needed to make sure that we continued supporting the areas that we said we were going to do, including our new high school and middle school schedules, and all the work we're doing with our literacy efforts with the READ Act and our letters training and other things. We also know and heard about through the NPR article today, but we've known it all along, that the costs of special education services are rising throughout the country. The needs of our students are significant, and we are obligated and have the moral and ethical responsibility to meet those needs. We have been able to use this year, as Member Eder mentioned, we've had a stair-stepping down rather than a full financial cliff in 1 year. We've done it over 2 years' time, and so that was something we did with unassigned the fund balances that we have. When we went through this, there were certain things that we didn't rules that we didn't want to break, that we wanted to make sure that we're holding true to. We wanted to make sure, of course, that we weren't going to break any laws with our reductions. We weren't going to violate board policy or regulations. And we also have contracts that are legal binding documents. We can't go against contracts and say, hey, everybody, you're going to teach 10% more or 20% more so we can save money. We also are not going to go into statutory operating debt. We're going to avoid going below 8% of the fund balance, as we've talked about. And then we also want to make sure that with the referendum that we had a year ago last November that funded things related to social emotional learning, mental health, the new high school schedule, and strengthening our academic supports of intervention, that we weren't going to make major reductions in that area, in those areas. That was one of the suggestions we heard, why don't we just not do that new high school schedule? But we promised our taxpayers that if they voted for the referendum that we would follow through with these things and not make changes. We also have been working very hard to make sure we have strong stakeholder involvement. And I was actually pretty proud when we were in our last labor management meeting. The president of the Teachers union said, Ethan Fisher was saying that this is really the most transparent, most inclusive process he's seen in his years of many years of budget reduction. And part of that is due to the strong partnerships that we have in labor management. We also want to make sure that we have a balanced budget for this next year, that we use a very transparent process. I think that things have been incredibly transparent. We have a new website with information, with questions and answers and all the graphs, and basically it's hard to say that we don't put information out there and that we don't make it as digestible as possible. But I think that third bullet is really that if there was one thing we had tattooed on us, as far as what we needed to do, was prioritize and protect classroom needs as much as possible. When it came to identifying within our plans what we're looking at, we really wanted to try to avoid the impact on our classrooms. And then we needed to make sure that we continue to align our resources. It's not just about reduction, but it's about realignment and making sure that we're holding true to our efforts to support every student, to advance equity, and to improve systems. We also want to make sure, Simone and the rest of the team has worked hard to make sure that we have forecasted, balanced budgets. And we talk about budget forecasting, the work that has been done by that department, to hear that we were spot on with the $5 million as a mark. I think that exemplifies that the work being done is very strong. We also want to make sure that we're examining all legacy practices with a lens of fiscal accountability. Just because we've done something for a long time and we've quote unquote always done it that way, doesn't mean that we should continue doing that way if we can find fiscally responsible ways of improving things. And then we also want to make sure that we're continuing to protect the district's fiscal health by seeking efficiencies and identifying new resource funding, such as grants, investment opportunities, lobbying, and other efforts. So tonight, we're asking the board to make a motion, and this is suggested language. You can also find this suggested language in your red folder. So we would ask that hopefully a member later during our action items time would make a motion similar to this. But basically what this is saying, we're not laying out the detail of every position that's being reduced here tonight. We think it's important through the assignment transfer committee and the work that we do in the month of January that we identify and let people know properly. We don't want people finding out that their position might be reduced by listening to a school board meeting, and so it's important for us to follow procedure. But we've helped keep you abreast of where we are in our latest work in that regard. We also know that things are often in a state of flux between now and springtime, just because we might have at some point some displacement from positions. We will have displacement from positions. Soon after, those displacements would happen in the second half of January, probably the last week of January. And then right after that, February 1st, we get the announcements of everybody who's retiring. And so we'll be able to look at mitigating some of the factors as far as who's been reduced. We also know that we'll be doing a lot of lobbying through this springtime, and I'll talk more about that. And if our funding increases in certain areas or if enrollment goes up, that means that we might be able to reduce where we're making reductions. So that is something that we'll be doing in very close partnership. But this is what we're suggesting as far as potential language. Then onto the solar projects update. Just some of the other items. We have solar projects and our legislative platform. Solar projects, we're continuing with the Lincoln Park project. We have a memorandum of understanding with the city to move forward. And we are also planning, when the window opens for application, that we'll be putting in our proposal in January. We've heard that it will be looked at very favorably due to the land that we have and where it's facing, and also the public aspect of having it very visible as you're coming into town, the partnership with students. There's so many good things related to that Lincoln Park project, and I'm very hopeful for it. Last month, I talked about the Stowe Elementary project, that was what we were intending, was to use our Solar for Schools grant for Stowe. but we actually had our structural engineer review the roof. And when we think about efforts to be more environmentally conscious, one of the things that that has happened in statute is they've increased significantly increased the amount of insulation that needs to go into roofs. So when we are doing the work on the roof, we actually have to add a ton of, not a literal ton, but a figurative ton of insulation into the roof. And with that added weight, the roof could not handle the solar panels at Stowe. So we actually began looking very, very hard. And I want to say how much I appreciate the facilities team. Brian Brown has worked really hard on this, and Simone in finding, and also Teresa Severance as well. But basically we have a second plan, and that's to use this site. And as I mentioned at our HR business meeting, we have some money left from the bonding that was for construction of this particular building. And there's some money left over, and we're hoping to do two things with it. One would be to build an additional bay on the transportation area, because we have some really large, heavy equipment that needs space and needs to be out of the elements. That would be about $900,000, and we have about $600,000 left after that, and we're proposing that be used as a match with the Solar for Schools funding, so that we could have a solar project here. The great thing about that would be that we would not have to dip into our general fund, and I think that's been something that we've been trying to weigh both, that we were making budget reductions and we have a fiscal responsibility, but I'm really happy that Executive Director Zunich found a possibility for us to use funds that can't be used for anything else. Can't be used for building at the DNT, it can't be used for refurbishing another area. It has to be used on construction here if we're going to use it, and it doesn't come out of our general fund. So that is something that we're looking forward to as a potential for the solar project that we plan to have in by the deadline. As far as legislative updates, and we've talked a lot about lobbying. We want to make sure that we're ready for lobbying, and we have our platform. We're going to be finalizing and voting on our platform in January, so that will be something that our lobbyist, Jeff Anderson, has worked on us with. And then also, we plan to attend the AMSD, Association of Metropolitan School Districts, 2025 legislative preview on January 10th. There are a lot of representatives at that meeting. The governor is invited, other folks, and quite often might be something that would be good for a board member or two, or whomever is chair at that point to attend. And then also we have a work session scheduled, the Duluth School Board work session with our legislators. It will take place on January 17th. And so that's the date we're looking at there. And then finally, I think we all, January 7th. I actually had it. I had it as the 7th in my report, and then I was like, no, that couldn't be it. It must be the 17th. And thanks for Apple Watches and attentive administrative assistants who give a hint from behind. But it's actually the 7th. And then we will look forward to planning on participating in very robust lobbying throughout the springtime, including the Duluth and St. Louis County Days. And I would ask that any board members who are interested in attending the Duluth St. Louis County Days, I think it's one of our most effective places to do lobbying. And I know sometimes we realize that there's a little bit of cost when it comes to making those efforts and making those trips, but generally the efforts pay off 100-fold in funding that we're able to obtain for our schools. So I think it would be very worthwhile for us to consider. The Duluth St. County Days, it's in February, and I want to say the 12th and 13th. Yes, the 12th and 13th. We will be, at that time, we will be presenting not only our legislative priorities, but we also have a group effort that we're making between the University of Minnesota Duluth, Lake Superior College, College of St. Scholastica, Apex, the City of Duluth, and the Chamber of Commerce related to workforce development and career technical education. We saw our students here earlier showing some of the amazing things they're doing with getting into nursing positions and respiratory health and everything else in our schools, and we want to make sure that we are able to keep those funding streams and also those career pathways alive. And perfect time for the connection to be lost, because that is the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Member Loeffler Kemp.
No questions, thank you, excellent presentation. I just wanted to throw out, while you were throwing out lobby dates, that the NSBA's lobby day jointly with MAZA, the superintendent's, is on Monday, March 10th. So if you want to put that date on, and then the legislative updates, there's phone calls Friday during the legislative session that anyone can join for half an hour, and really good use of your time. But thank you for all the other updates.
I just have a clarifying question. I think I just missed it. When you were going through your solar, I think it was the first bullet point where you're talking about the Lincoln Park, and you said something about, the MOU with the city, and then you said something about some kind of grant fit or proposal with
so
Minnesota.
it's
Is it
actually
a
a
grant
par-
with Minnesota Power?
So it's a partnership with Minnesota Power. I don't think it's technically a grant, but it's basically they have opportunity for partnering where what they do is they use our land to build the arrays, and they rent our land, so the money we get from that benefits the district greatly, and then so there's some money that comes back to the district from solar for this, and it's also a great opportunity for the district to be able to buy back electricity at a fixed rate, so we can basically buy our electricity based on today's rate for electricity rather than future rates when we assume the cost of electricity is going to go up significantly. So it's a really good value to the district.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yeah, could you clarify number 3 under the solar projects about, and I'm sorry, you gave a lot of information about the 600,000, how much we're going to be using for solar versus other projects that we need
Yes.
to use it for?
Right, so we have, and I'll look at Simone for a second, but we have approximately $1,660,000, I believe, and so we'd be putting about 950-ish towards the extra bay on the transportation building. That would also include the different reservoirs needed for salt and sand. As you can probably see with the hill coming up, we always knew it was a little slippery, but we need to make sure that we have those receptacles for that. So basically, about $1 million, a little less than $1 million would go towards that, and about 600,000 would go towards the match for the solar project. And I think that some people have talked about taking the money that's generated and putting it towards other projects and getting IRAs and things like that. I think that we have to be a little careful about that. That's not guaranteed money, and we've also found that it takes, it's probably going to take up to 3 years to get the IRA money back as opposed to the year that we had heard about previously. We have talked about potentially using some of the lease money that we would get from Minnesota Power. We could consider potentially putting that towards sustainability projects or something like that, but that would be something for us to consider, and that would be the purview of the board, but something that we would consider exploring and seeing what that would look like. Also, to do it here, it has to be considered an educational facility, and so we would also need to make have a request with the state that we would say that we're going to use this location as a educational location as well. So we would, if classes wanted to come up, they could use the boardroom here or the closed boardroom, or maybe have some outside classroom area or something like that. But we would have to consider this as educational space here at the DSC. which does have some limitations on maybe being able to, whether or not we could use the transportation building or the facilities building. So there are limitations that we're working on. But I would say I'm extremely impressed with the work that Brian Brown and the facilities team has done, because they go above and beyond on this. And, you know, Teresa Severance supporting the facilities team, and Simone and Anthony putting the curriculum together with others. It's been a joint project.
Seeing no other questions, thank you again, Superintendent Magus, with all of the plates that we're spinning in all of your different areas. It's really appreciated by board members, the work that our district staff and our leaders do. And they're in the back there too. Thank you. So on our next item of agenda, it is just a review of the schedule of meetings. And we have a little bit of a break because it's holiday, although, you know, the holiday eats up all of our time. I know mine is busy with all kinds of things. And then we're really just back here in January. On January 6th is our annual organizational meeting. And just as we approach that meeting too, there's some great webinars on the MSBA site that really are great introductions to what that organizational meeting is all about. I know that we've been a part of organizational meeting, all of us now have, some more than others, but it's always a meeting that we want to celebrate the start of a year, and we want to make sure that we know committees, and Patty will be sending out that updated committee list. So if you have time between now and January 6th to look at that and to maybe see and vision where you want to lead this year on the board. So make sure you're making some thoughtful ideas around that. And then we're back at what's not on here is that January 7th. That just got placed. This might be an old meeting agenda, but that January 7th meeting with our legislators just got on there. And is it in person and they're visiting us via their sites, or are they here as well?
It's at our location, and then some of them will be in person, but some weren't able to make it in person, so they requested to have a virtual option as well.
Okay. And then we have the parent policy Head Start meeting January 9th and our EAC on Thursday the 9th. And so that's a quick turnaround, because those committee assignments will come out probably the next day or so after the January 6th. So you might be sitting on the Head Start parent policy now, and maybe there's a nice transition. I think we've talked about that before, that maybe if you're on a committee now, you continue till January, and then the new board member will take over in February. You go both together. But just, just look at your calendars for those options as well. So that's our update on events coming up. That brings us to report of our standing committees. And so Assistant Superintendent Bonds, the Committee of the Whole.
Thank
Can
you,
give
which
us
was
a
held
review?
on December 3rd. During that meeting, there was 2 presentations. An extensive presentation was provided by our directors who are in the back. Director Sparts and Director Larva provided some insights related to the Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness Plan, which was formerly known as the World's Best Workforce Plan. It is a detailed document that describes the district goals and strategies for improving academic outcomes for all of our students. It was a thorough presentation by the team. They provided that presentation along with their curriculum leaders. It was very insightful, so I really encourage the community and others who have not had a chance to read the plan to please review the plan that is going to be linked on our district website. And if they want to watch the presentation, they can hear directly from our leaders. So I want to thank Director Sparts and Director Larva for all of their efforts, and the team who worked on it extensively. And there was a verbal update provided by Simone Zunich, and that was our full agenda.
It was, and I was organizing that handout just the other day when I was getting ready to make some more room for what was going to happen tonight. And so just really a shout out, and you're right, we'll get it on our website, we'll link it. And our community needs to really look at those documents, the data and the plan, because we do tend to field emails and hear conversations when we're in public about, what are we doing and how are we meeting the needs of our students every day? How are we improving systems? How are we, maintaining equity or building our equity concerns in our district? So thank you. And so that makes, going on, then we're under 8, and we're now to B, to the Human Resource and Business Service. So I'll turn it over to Chair of that committee, Member Eater, who had a lot to do with everything we heard tonight as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And we had a great, if not brisk, HR Business Services meeting on Tuesday. We started out with no guest presentations, and we moved on to our departmental reports. We started out with our HR report, and we had some staffing changes where we saw an increase in the number of non-certified and certified staff hirings, which was great because we have been short-staffed in certain areas. So it's great to see that we are continuing to hire those non-certified staff members. We also had some departmental reports from HR. The HR team, along with our finance department, has been doing site staffing and budget review meetings all across the districts, and they have their last meeting dates that are being finalized. On the 14th of November, the members of the Human Resources team participated in the Duluth Chamber of Commerce Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion workshops. Those workshops are important as they provide guidance on how our business community can support and empower our Indigenous-led organizations, and also these workshops give valuable insight into local Indigenous culture. On the 27th of November, HR personnel participated in quite a few professional development activities that included workplace discrimination awareness, stress management techniques, conflict management strategies for staff, and sensitivity awareness. These trainings equip our staff with the knowledge to navigate very complex workplace situations and also continue to make sure that we are a workplace where many people want to come and work. As far as our benefits update, our benefits department hosted their first retirement information session that happened on November 25th, and those meetings are geared towards employees who are thinking about retiring in the next year or so. The benefits department also processed all of our open enrollment submissions and assisted many of our retired employees in navigating their new choices in health insurance through the new Medicare retiree groups. So that was, and lastly, when we look at our contract negotiations, we have just one unit left. That's our district-wide Instructional Administration Association, fondly known as DWE. We haven't gotten that next negotiation date finalized yet, but they are our last group to negotiate for this cycle. Moving on from our HR department summary report, we move on to business services. We look at our enrollment numbers, and as we saw earlier, we continue to see a very steady enrollment here in the Duluth Public Schools. We've also increased a little bit, and as I talk about every month, we have more students attending the district currently right now than what we have budgeted, so that's a great place to be. We will see a drop in the student numbers in the district once December happens, as we generally see quite a few students graduate at that semester mark. That was our enrollment report. Moving on to child nutrition, it was a pretty straightforward report this month as we just looked at the number of breakfast and lunch that we're serving across the district. And again, we like to thank the state of Minnesota for providing free breakfast and lunch for our students. We had nothing exciting like a milk order or a pizza order or anything fun like that. It was just straight numbers this month. Moving on to our facilities department report. That was pretty general. We are looking at and excited to say that Myers-Wilkins repairs have begun. ICS is on site and they're supervising the scope. We have some work being done on chillers for Myers. We also have some boilers inspections that have been done. The Rockridge Mechanical Room has had some work done, and the Homecroft Cafeteria soffit rebuild will be happening over winter break. We just want to take a minute for our buildings operation and acknowledge that we filled 2 new positions Operations have filled 2 new positions, one a returning employee at East, Ryan Zentgraf, and one at Lincoln Park, Jacob Miller. So thank you and welcome aboard, Ryan and Jacob. And then we have received a couple letters of resignation for custodians. So again, we have 2 second-shift engineer positions open at Denfeld and Ordine, 1 second-shift engineer position open at Myers, and 2 custodial positions open at Denfeld and Lowell. And if you watch Fox 21 in the morning, you can watch our wonderful commercials talking about what a great place it is to work for our custodians and our facilities. Looking at our technology, for our technology, we have, of course, very active accounts across our district. We also have a couple E-rate and RFP bids that are out. You can check those on the agenda. And I believe that was our technology report, sure was. And then moving on to transportation, what we are seeing in transportation is we are still struggling with some staffing concerns. Again, public turn into Fox 21 in the morning, you can see what a great job it is to be in transportation for the district. So we continue to need more drivers and more helpers, and we always want to thank our transportation partners for helping us out when we are short drivers. We have 2 recommended resolutions coming out of HR and Business Services. One is the Certified Tax Levy 2024 payable to 2025. The second is an acceptance of donations to the Duluth Public Schools. We have several things that you can find on our consent agenda, including our HR staffing report. Coming from finance, you can see our fiscal year 24 audit that was handed out to us earlier today. You can see our financial report that Executive Director Zunich talks about. Look over on that far end and you can see our percentages and all. So that is available to the public as well. We also have fundraisers. We have 1 bid, and that is for bid 1333 for our transportation building addition. You heard Superintendent Magus speak about earlier. Under contracts, change orders, and leases, we have a contract, a letter of agency for E-rate consulting services that moves from January 2025 to 2026. And then we have some miscellaneous information as far as expenditure contracts, no-cost contracts, and no revenue contracts this month. And that wraps up our HR Business Service Committee meeting. Thank you.
Questions? I just have one observation about, and it probably could be answered by either Member Eater or Director Severance about, it just seems like there's 23 new hires for our non-certified. So we're actively, and if you just look at the new hires, the retirements, the leaves of absence, you're a busy department. Because as you look at the fact that we hired 23, I mean, we can celebrate that. But, then you have to just get your mind wrapped around interviews, interview teams, onboarding new employees. And I don't know, for me, it just seems like in the month of December, our hiring could have kind of gone down and kind of stayed stable, but we're continuing, to see a lot of, not a lot, but just maybe more than normal, wouldn't you say, about leaves and leaving the district, resigning from positions, and then, having to hire again.
I do think there is probably a higher percentage of leaves. Not sure what that's attributed to, but we are processing more than we probably typically do this time of year. The new hires, I think we have, a fair amount of turnover and just positions that hadn't yet been filled, or the needs have become evident that we need additional staff. I know in our special education paraprofessionals, we've definitely noticed that. So I think it has increased, but probably not overly unusual. It just depends on what we fill in the September, getting into December.
I guess what I want to share too with our community is just, the work that our HR department is doing. And, sometimes you might hear, and I hear it a little bit in transportation too, where, somebody doesn't reply to the email right away, or no one answers a phone, or, well, when you're hiring, continually hiring, or when the transportation staff are out driving buses because of people who are sick on that day, and you've got even your lead, clerical over there, getting out and riding buses, there's something is going to give there, but I just want to compliment our workers and tell them that I'm glad that we're hiring, that we have 23 new hires. I know that some of those positions were because we didn't hire in the fall. That was something, we just couldn't find the people. And now for some reason, the advertising on the morning Fox show there, Miss Eater, to all of the different billboards we see around is at least becoming aware. And I think our employees also share with their colleagues or their friends or their family members, come and work with us. It's really a good place to work, so thank you. Member Lafleur.
Excellent report, Member Eater. I just have a question, and I guess someone else will have to answer it. But in the technology report, it talked about a pilot program if we were selected to participate in a cybersecurity pilot program as of December 3rd, 2024. And I was just curious what that was referencing. Yeah, Bart's not here. I just wondered if any, okay. That's okay, and you can get back to me. I just happened to.
The one where many districts across the country were applying for it, and they said there was not many.
Can you repeat the question?
I was just curious about, in the technology report, it talked about a potential pilot program around cybersecurity, and I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I think we'd be glad to look into it in greater depth and get back to.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bonds.
Just highlighting too in that cybersecurity, as Member Loeffler Kemp and I were at a delegate assembly looking at legislative asks that we're going to potentially, as an MSBA, go down and lobby for, and cybers, so we've tried to pass referendums for tech, and now, the community, the MSBA community is saying, hey, we should, let's just go ask for cybersecurity, monies, because that has, grown so much that would help us. So I just thought that was interesting, and more grants or just more money for just targeted cybersecurity. So that concludes the report of the Standing Committee for Human Resources and Business Services. So on to C, Policy Committee, and Chair of that committee is Member Loeffler Kemp.
Thank you. So we met on Tuesday, December 3rd, and all of the items that we'll be reviewing are on the consent agenda as well. And so we had a few policies for first reading, and I particularly want to thank Jen Larva and Dale for their work on many of the policies that we're talking about this time. But the first policy is Policy 616. It's School District System Accountability. And the purpose of this policy is to focus public education strategies on a process that promotes higher academic achievement for all students and ensures broad-based community participation in decisions regarding implementation of the Minnesota K-12 academic standards and federal law. And this is a new policy for our district, but it was covered in most of the areas in some of our 6,000 series. So this policy would replace 6020 and also 6205. And this is also a mandatory policy. And yeah. I guess I would also just add is that I appreciated hearing all the different committees that this policy was reviewed through, from the principals to our TLCs and content specialists and other folks. So that is the first policy for the first reading. And then Policy 601 is School District Curriculum and Instruction Goals. And this kind of goes with this first policy as well. The purpose of this policy is to establish broad curriculum parameters for the school district that encompass the Minnesota academic standards and federal law and are aligned with comprehensive achievement and civic readiness. And if you go down this, just kind of one thing that was noted is all of the definitions in Section 3 are from Minnesota State statute. We yeah, and this is the first reading. So the next one is Policy 603, Curriculum Development. And the purpose of this policy is to provide direction for continuous review and improvement of the school curriculum. And again, you can read through that. There was, under Section 6, a section that was deleted. A, because it's already in 621. So, yeah, those are the policies for first reading. And then the next one for second reading is the Literacy in the Read Act. And we did change the statement of purpose a little, or the purpose statement. And you received a copy of it as well in your folders tonight. But this policy aligns with Minnesota state law established in the 2023 READ Act and on other topics related to reading. Duluth Public Schools places a high value on literacy as a core component of students' educational journey. The school district is committed to providing evidence-based reading instruction that is consistent with the READ Act, ensuring that students develop strong reading and writing skills. The school district emphasizes a comprehensive, standard-based approach to literacy, encompassing foundational skills, vocabulary development, reading fluency, and reading comprehension. This dedication to literacy aims to equip every student with the essential tools for academic success and lifelong learning in all subject areas. And again, this is a model policy that really follows the new state law that was passed in 2023. So that was the policy for second reading. And then policy 6145, we're deleting it. And this has to do with swimming pools, and it's really just an outdated policy. But some of the community use of pools falls under our facilities policies. And then the last piece was more for informational, but it's the proposed ISD 709 curriculum review and adoption timeline, again, which relates to those first reading policies. And I really, again, appreciate all the thought that was put into this timeline by our staff, but also based on state updates as well. So those were the items in our policy committee this month. Did I miss anything, members? Okay. And the last thing I would just say again is our next policy meeting for January is January 14th at 3:30. And again, I want to thank our staff and thank Patty Paquette for all the work she has done with these policies. Thank you.
And just kind of a comment too, because it is our last official board meeting of December. And so the committees that we've had functioning, our HR business and our policy committee of the whole, I can shout out to Assistant Superintendent Bonds and his staff, especially Shannon Brown, who are always, he just told me the other day, or last hour, like what's on the agenda or coming up in our COW meetings in February already. Not that we can't adjust and add some things as we see some needs, but he's really a really great vision for what needs to come before the board and with the committee of the whole, and we enjoy that. But our policy committee is just rocking under the leadership of Member Loeffler Kemp. For now, I think 4 years, I think we brought the policy committee to a committee level 4 years ago, and you've taken on that role, and you've continued to have great support from all, like you've been on the policy committee, Right now, you're on finance. Kelly, policy? Nope, always finance, okay, brain. And so we've just really had strong committees. And again, when we have our staff that are bringing forth all of the necessary things, you know, policy is a big deal, and we need to show our community and especially our staff, that's their guardrails, the policies, go to the policies. And so I just want to shout out to the committees. And, you know, it's kind of unique. I do a lot of coffee and conversation with MSBA, and we always kind of compare who's doing what and what's coming up. And we're, as a school board, we're going to be presenting, and mainly it's going to be led by Rosie and Kelly and myself and Superintendent Magus and Assistant Superintendent Pond. But we are on the, in the program for our MSBA conference in January, and it's on committees. Because in that coffee and conversation time that I've been involved in, they really like the way that our committees are working, formed, and what we get done. Not everybody meets the way we do. Not every school board even has policy or, you know, a an HR business, or they do, but it's in a different, less formal, and not, you know, not as transparent as we do our work. And so we've been asked to present at the MSBA on our committee structures. And we'll take, you know, everybody, we're going to talk about what we can say there. We've got like an hour or so. Let's rock. We're on a Friday morning, so we'll see how that goes. But just great appreciation as we conclude another year of great work in HR Business, Committee of the Whole. I'm going to get all three of those: improving systems, providing academic success, and equity focus. Yeah, I even wrote it down in my folder because I want to say it a lot. It does guide us. It really does. So then that goes up to now number 9, unless there's other comments about committees. Number 9, general board committee updates. Anybody go into any of our committee meetings? It's been a quiet month because of the holidays and because of December, but I see someone.
Yeah,
Member
just
Banks?
thank you. I know the Transportation Services Advisory Committee has met only one time. We have another meeting tomorrow, and that is at 10 a.m. So we're moving forward.
Member Zadowski.
I didn't, because of the busyness of this month, I haven't attended any extra ones either, but I wanted to say thank you to Member Loeffler-Kemp for attending the Head Start meeting for me, because it was our company holiday party, so, thank you.
And I saw Member Williams, and then we'll come back to Member Loeffler-Kemp.
I will be brief because I left my notes in my car by mistake. But I went to the Parks and Rec meeting last week at City Hall. And it was, it was good. I went and there was a presentation on the Park Point Community Club. And that was it. Then I had to leave early, so there was other stuff. I took notes, sorry.
And Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Yep, thank you. I appreciated being able to do the Head Start policy meeting, and just one of the things I wanted to share is they've been, so the policy council is parents from all of the different sites, and it's held at Lowell, and it's just such a great meeting to see how parents take on leadership roles and advocate. And they, as part of their own training, they had the business manager for Head Start, Nancy Vega, do a kind of funding basics to train them on how to read a budget, just like we are. And so it was really, it was great to be a part of that. And just again, as you're thinking about those committees, it's a really wonderful committee. I know Amber's enjoyed serving on it. I have, and so it's a great committee, but just like Amber did, I encourage people too, if you can't make a meeting of any of your committees, let us know, and we can fill in if we can. We're a team that really works to support each other. So appreciated that, and that I was able to help out there. I also wanted to mention our Duluth Public Schools Endowment Fund is in their cycle now for going out to school staff meetings to talk about the grant process, which the deadline is March 1st. And so board members from the endowment fund go out and do about a 10-minute presentation. I'm actually training some of our new board members on at the different staff meetings right now. So you'll be hearing more about that, but that process is just beginning for schools and staff to write a grant for $500 to $5,000. So those are my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. That, continuing down our agenda, now that gets us to consent agenda, and I'm looking for a motion to accept the consent agenda. Member Loeffler Kemp makes the motion. Is there a second? Second by Member Eder. And is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Our board is really good about, or our committee chairs are good about highlighting what's on the consent agenda as they're going through their reports. But just, briefly, there's minutes, there's the HR business report and staffing, it's the other items brought forth in committee of the whole meetings. It's diploma requests, and this month, I just noticed a celebration that we have, many of our students that will graduate now in December or January, and that's exciting to see that opportunity and celebrate that. And the policies that are for first reading are on there and second reading. And when we approve the consent agenda, that means we're approving everything on here. It's been on our agenda, and we've looked at it. So all those in favor of passing the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to our number 11, which is our resolutions, and we have 5 of them between 11 and 12. So again, we're looking at Resolution A, the certified tax levy. Did I give that to someone?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Chair LaFolden, School Board, I move Resolution B-12-24-4071, the resolution for the certified tax levy of 2024 payable in 2025.
Is there a second? Second. Member Zadowski seconds it. Is there any discussion?
Would you like me to read the entire thing?
Oh, yes, of course.
Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, to hereby set the tax levy for 2024 payable in 2025 at $44,959,128.28.
We have the motion and we have a second. Now that it's completely read, does anybody have a question? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Or the resolution. Opposed? Resolution carries. Moving on to 11B, our acceptance of donations. I think that's Member Zadowski.
Yes, I move Resolution B-12-24-4072, the acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools. I see a lot of good, very generous donations on here. A couple to Congdon, Denfeld, one from CJ and Stephanie Ham for the football program at Denfeld. I see a donation to the science department, which is really great, from UMD. So I move Resolution B-12-24-4072.
Is there a second? Second. Member Loeffler Kemp seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of motion B-12-24-4072, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion. Continuing on our agenda, number 12, it's special resolutions and action items. So we're looking at 12A for approval, and I think that is Member Loeffler Kemp.
I move Resolution SP 12-24-4069. This is school board attendance at the 2025 NSBA Leadership Conference. Resolve that Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, pay cost incurred as per district policy for school board members to attend the Minnesota School Board Association 2025 Leadership Conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota on January 15th through 17th, 2025.
Is there a second to the motion? Member Williams seconds. Is there any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution SP-12-24-4069, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 12B, another resolution, and Member Banks.
Thank you. This is Resolution SP 12-24-4070. I move this resolution for approval. The resolution reads, School Board Member Attendance at MSBA Learning to Lead Workshop Series and Officers Workshop. Resolved that Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, pay costs incurred as per district policy for school board members to attend the MSBA Learning to Lead Workshop Series and Officers Workshop.
Is there a second to Member Banks's motion? Second. Member Zadowski seconds. All those in favor of the motion for SP 12-24-4070, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving down our agenda, I am looking at 12C, a contract for American Rescue Plan amendment. Is that Member Eater? No? Do we have that resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the American Rescue Plan Act Subboard Agreement Amendment between St. Louis County and the Duluth Public Schools.
Second.
Thank you. I remember seeing this in the agenda. I'm just trying to recall what all of that was about. Oh, it's Check and Connect and right, okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. D, budget reduction and realignment. That's Member Eater. And this is just a motion, not a resolution.
So I move the School Board of Independent School District 709 approve the budget reallocation and realignment for a total of up to $7.6 million over the multi-years fiscal years 25 and fiscal year 26. The school board directed the administration to develop reductions to the amount for up to $2.6 million for 2024-2025 and up to $5 million for 2025-2026. The Duluth Public Schools and school districts across Minnesota are facing significant challenging fiscal environments due to a number of factors, including increases in operating costs, unfunded mandates, and the sunsetting of federal pandemic relief funds. Duluth Public Schools is facing a budget shortfall for the 2025-26 school year and the foreseeable future. The district administration is recommending a $5 million budget adjustment for the fiscal year 26 as part of a budget realignment. After multiple meetings with staff, the school board and the district administrators and leadership are in the process of finalizing recommendations to meet that amount. This process has included opportunities for community, staff, student, and family feedback.
We have a motion. I'll second it as board chair. Is there any conversation or discussion or question? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion?
I'm sorry, just have one.
There you go.
One comment. That as we discussed, you understand where we are with our plans to this point. But I just want to point out to all of you for series of checks and balances. Hypothetically, if we were to deviate drastically from what we've talked about, you have other remedies down the line. You could vote against the approval of the budget, which is a much more formal action down the line. So this is, I just wanted to point out that this is not a no holds barred, we can do whatever we want after you vote for this. This is just the step moving us forward. So just want to point that out for you as board members, which you probably understand already from our previous conversations, but also just so the public knows where we're at as well.
Perfect.
So all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to item 13. Are there any questions or other things? Oh, Member Loeffler?
But if
Oh.
there's anybody else, I can go first.
Oh. Your cup is in front of your microphone, so I can't see. Did you just turn it? Okay.
Thank you. Just as we kind of wrap up, as a board, we wanted to thank a few folks for the excellent work and a little holiday cheer. And we, of course, thank all of our staff across the district for the work they've done this half of the year and the dedication to the Duluth Public Schools. But tonight, we just wanted to recognize a few folks and just share with you a poinsettia plant, and you guys can fight over which one you want. But one of the people we wanted to recognize is Simone, and just as by her many reports that happened tonight, and the work that she has and her team have done this month on getting ready for the audit, or doing the audit, and the truth in taxation, and the many budget meetings, and that we just wanted to, again, show our appreciation and thank you, and give you a poinsettia for some holiday cheer as well. So thank you, Simone, again. Yeah. And then also on behalf of the board, we can't do the work that we do without the great work that Patty Paquette, our executive assistant, does to support us, and in many ways. And so Patty, a poinsettia for you, some holiday cheer, and thank you again for all the ways you support us as a school board. So.
They're grandbaby.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you again, Patty. Okay. And then and again, there's so many people we could thank, but we just also wanted to recognize our chair this year, Jill Lofold, for all the work that she's done, all the time she has spent, both supporting us as board members, facilitating meetings, being on endless coffee and conversations that we get updates on, and just really being a strong board leader in putting in the time that it takes, and also the extra time. So just again, thank you so much, Jill, from the board as well. Yeah, so thank you.
That's very sweet. That's sweet for all of us, and yeah, it's like, where do you stop? So I'll be buying some chocolate for all of us. So we're looking for a motion to adjourn. Member Eder makes the motion. Is there a second? Member Mike Sill makes this. She did it with eye contact. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.